The only sound is the hiss and rattle of a spray can. For decades, this was the image of graffiti, a clandestine act, a mark of rebellion, often labeled as vandalism, a crime. The artists were phantoms, their work scrubbed away by city cleanup crews before the sun rose. Now, picture a different scene, that same alley, bathed in sunlight, teeming with tourists. They're holding smartphones, not spray cans. They're led by a guide, pointing out the vibrant murals as cultural landmarks. This isn't a fantasy, it's the reality in cities all over the world. We are living in graffiti's golden age, a period where the act of painting on a wall has transformed from a prosecutable offense into a multi-million-dollar pillar of the tourism industry. This is the story of how cities stopped fighting street art and started selling it. The shift was not instantaneous. It was a slow, grudging evolution. Take Berlin, a city literally defined by a wall. After its fall, the East Side Gallery became an impromptu canvas, a raw, emotional testament to freedom. For years, it was a chaotic, semi-legal monument. But the city soon realized what they had. It wasn't just graffiti, it was a historical document, an open-air museum. They began to preserve it, promote it. Today, the East Side Gallery is one of Berlin's most visited attractions, a cornerstone of its cultural identity and a massive economic driver. The same story played out in Melbourne, Australia. The city's labyrinthine laneways, once seen as grimy and unsafe, became a canvas for a burgeoning street art scene. Hagier Lane, once a dingy service alley, is now an internationally recognized art destination. The city council, which once spent a fortune on graffiti removal, now prints maps highlighting the best art, tacitly endorsing the very culture it used to fight. This transformation from foe to friend is a masterclass in urban rebranding. Bristol in the UK is another prime example. As the hometown of the enigmatic Banksy, the city had a complex relationship with street art. For years, they struggled with how to handle his unsanctioned works. Do you paint over a piece that could be worth millions? Eventually, Bristol leaned in. They embraced their status as the capital of UK street art, launching festivals like Upfest, Europe's largest street art festival. Thousands of people now flock to Bristol specifically to hunt for Banksy's work and experience this vibrant culture. They stay in hotels, eat in restaurants, and buy merchandise. The economic ripple effect is undeniable. What was once a budget line item for the sanitation department has become a major source of revenue for the tourism board. So how exactly does a city monetize a subculture built on being free and anti-authoritarian? The playbook is surprisingly consistent. First comes recognition. The city officially or unofficially designates an area as a street art district. Think Wynwood in Miami. In the early 2000s, it was a neglected warehouse district. Then, visionary developer Tony Goldman invited top street artists to use the windowless buildings as giant canvases. The result was Wynwood Walls, an outdoor museum that transformed the neighborhood. The second step is infrastructure. This means guided tours. Suddenly, you have dozens of small businesses offering graffiti walks, where tourists pay to be shown the art, often by artists themselves, who can now make a living explaining the history, techniques, and stories behind the pieces. Then come the festivals, which are huge economic engines. They bring in international artists, sponsors, and massive crowds, creating a concentrated burst of economic activity. Finally, there's merchandising and media. The art becomes iconic, appearing on postcards, t-shirts, and in countless Instagram posts, which function as free worldwide advertising for the city. A single powerful mural can become a city's unofficial logo, a visual shorthand that says, "This place is cool, creative, and current." This journey from gritty subculture to polished tourist product is fascinating. It reflects a massive cultural shift in how we perceive public space and art itself. The internet, particularly Instagram, acted as a massive accelerant. A beautiful mural no longer just belonged to the neighborhood, it could be shared globally in seconds, creating a new form of travel destination, the Instagram hotspot. People would travel across the world to get a photo in front of a specific piece of art by Cobra in Sao Paulo or a mural by Invader in Paris. The artists, once anonymous figures operating in the shadows, could now build global brands, their names and styles becoming as recognizable as any gallery artist. Their signatures, or tags, once a sign of defiance, became a mark of quality, a seal of cultural capital that cities were desperate to acquire. The initial reluctance from city councils, rooted in decades of broken windows theory policing, slowly gave way to an enthusiastic embrace, driven by the undeniable allure of tourist dollars. But as the spray paint settled and the cash registers began to ring, a different kind of sound began to echo in these newly popular streets, the sound of difficult questions. As we celebrate this golden age of recognition and revenue, we have to ask, who is really paying the price for this transformation? The story of a gritty neighborhood transformed into a vibrant arts district is an undeniably appealing one. It's a narrative of urban renewal, of creativity conquering decay. And on the surface, the economic benefits are staggering. When a neighborhood like Shoreditch in London or Bushwick in Brooklyn becomes a street art hub, new life is injected into the local economy. Foot traffic skyrockets. Cafes, boutique shops, and trendy restaurants pop up to cater to the influx of tourists and new, wealthier residents. Property values climb, which is great news for landlords and homeowners. The city sees an increase in tax revenue. It seems like a perfect win-win situation. But if you scratch just beneath the glossy surface of this urban renaissance, you find a much more complicated and often painful reality. This process has a name, gentrification, and in the world of street art, it's a deeply divisive issue. The very artists who make a neighborhood desirable are often the first victims of their own success. They move into cheap, neglected areas because that's what they can afford. Their art, raw and unsanctioned, brings an edge, a sense of authentic culture. This authenticity is a magnet. It attracts developers and businesses who want to capitalize on the cool. As money flows in, rents inevitably rise. The small, family-run businesses that served the original community for generations are replaced by high-end establishments. The affordable artist studios are converted into luxury lofts. Soon, the very people who created the culture, both the artists and the long-term, often lower-income residents, are priced out of their own homes. This has been called art washing, where the vibrant veneer of street art is used to mask the displacement of a community. The murals remain, but the people they were originally for are gone, replaced by a more affluent demographic that consumes the art as an aesthetic backdrop to their lattes and avocado toast. This leads us to the central paradox of commercialized street art. At its core, graffiti was an act of defiance. It was anti-establishment, anti-capitalist. It was about reclaiming public space, giving a voice to the voiceless, and creating art for everyone, not just for the wealthy patrons of exclusive galleries. Now, that same spirit of rebellion is being sponsored by Nike, Coca-Cola, and Microsoft. Artists who once risked arrest to paint a wall are now being paid handsome commissions by the very corporations their predecessors might have railed against. This creates a massive ethical tightrope for artists to walk. On one hand, who can blame an artist for wanting to make a living from their passion? For decades, they worked for free, for the love of the craft. The opportunity for financial stability and global recognition is a powerful lure. As one artist might argue, why shouldn't I be paid for my skill? A painter in a studio gets paid? I'm just using a bigger canvas. But on the other hand, many old-school graffiti writers and street artists see this as a fundamental betrayal of the culture's ethos. They argue that the moment a piece of street art is sanctioned, permitted, and paid for by a corporation or a city government, it loses its soul. It ceases to be street art and becomes, in their eyes, just a public mural, a form of outdoor advertising. The debate rages within the community. Is it selling out to take a commission from a major brand? Does the art lose its power when its primary purpose shifts from social commentary to brand association? There is no easy answer. Perspectives are as varied and vibrant as the art itself. For every artist who embraces the commercial opportunities, there's another who remains dedicated to the illicit, unsanctioned roots of the movement, believing that true street art must be illegal to be authentic. The funding models themselves reveal this complex interplay. City grants often come with strings attached. They might favor art that is decorative and uncontroversial over pieces with a strong political or social message. The city wants to attract tourists, not start a political debate. Private sponsorships are even more fraught. Does a mural sponsored by a fast fashion brand still carry a message of anti-consumerism? The artists are often caught in the middle, trying to balance their artistic integrity with the practical need to pay their bills. Local residents, too, have a spectrum of opinions. A shop owner might be thrilled with the new customers the art brings, while a family that has lived in the neighborhood for 50 years feels like their community is being erased, turned into a theme park for outsiders. So we're left with this incredible engine for urban renewal that is simultaneously a potential machine for displacement and commodification. The battle for the soul of the streets is being fought, mural by mural, block by block. So, where do we go from here? How can cities navigate this ethical minefield and build a future where art, commerce, and community can all thrive? Navigating the turbulent waters between cultural authenticity and economic prosperity is the great challenge for the future of street art tourism. The gold rush is on, but cities are beginning to realize that a purely commercial approach can kill the goose that lays the golden egg. If every street art district becomes a sanitized, corporate-sponsored theme park, the very edge and authenticity that made it attractive in the first place will evaporate. So what does a more sustainable, equitable future look like? The answer lies in creating a balanced ecosystem where all stakeholders, artists, residents, businesses, and city planners have a voice and a stake in the outcome. One of the most promising models involves a conscious effort to preserve the raw, untamed spirit of graffiti alongside the polished, commissioned murals. This means creating zones of tolerance or designated free walls where unsanctioned art is permitted. These spaces act as living laboratories for the art form, allowing new artists to practice their craft and veteran artists to create work that is political, experimental, and free from commercial constraints. This hybrid model allows a city to have its cake and eat it too. The large-scale, tourist-friendly murals can coexist with the gritty, ephemeral graffiti that keeps the culture grounded and evolving. Furthermore, a push towards community benefit agreements is gaining traction. This could mean that a percentage of revenue from guided tours or art festivals is funneled directly back into the local community, funding affordable housing initiatives, youth art programs, or small business grants for long-term residents. This approach reframes street art not just as a tourist attraction, but as a tool for genuine community development. Technology is also poised to play a revolutionary role in shaping the future of street art tourism. Augmented reality is at the forefront of this evolution. Imagine pointing your phone at a mural and seeing it come to life. An animation could reveal the artist's creative process, a short documentary could play telling the story behind the piece, or the artwork itself could transform and interact with the viewer. This adds a layer of depth and engagement far beyond a simple photo opportunity. It also offers a new revenue stream for artists who could sell access to these exclusive AR experiences. Digital mapping and archival projects are also crucial. Since street art is often temporary, technology can preserve its legacy. Online galleries and interactive maps can document pieces that have been painted over, creating a historical record of a neighborhood's artistic evolution. These digital tools can also help manage tourist flow, guiding visitors to lesser-known areas and spreading the economic benefits beyond a single overcrowded laneway, thus preventing the Disneyland effect. The challenge of authenticity will remain the central tension. As more cities jump on the street art bandwagon, there's a real danger of oversaturation and homogenization. How does a city cultivate a scene that is unique to its own culture and history, rather than simply importing popular international styles? The key is to empower local artists and communities. A truly sustainable model is one that grows organically from the ground up, not one that is imposed from the top down by a tourism board. This means investing in local talent, celebrating local stories, and allowing for art that is challenging, controversial, and reflective of the community's real-life issues. The evolving relationship between artists and urban planners will be critical. The future lies in collaboration, where artists are not just seen as contractors hired to beautify a wall, but as essential partners in the process of city-making. Looking ahead, we can predict new cities will emerge as the next street art meccas. Places in Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, and Africa are already developing vibrant scenes, learning from the successes and failures of their predecessors. They have the opportunity to build more equitable and sustainable models from the outset. The conversation is shifting from how do we monetize this to how do we cultivate this responsibly. The graffiti gold rush is maturing. The initial frenzy of commercialization is giving way to a more nuanced understanding of the delicate balance between commerce and culture. The transformation from crime to cash has been remarkable, turning forgotten alleys into global destinations and phantoms of the night into celebrated artists. But it has also laid bare the complex forces of gentrification and commodification at work in our modern cities. It forces us to confront a final, thought-provoking question. In this new golden age, what is the true cost and the true value of turning rebellion into revenue?